On December 21, 1988, the unthinkable happened. A commercial airliner, Pan Am Flight 103, exploded in mid-air over the small Scottish town of Lockerbie, killing 270 people. This tragedy shook the world and left everyone asking, what caused this horrific event? Was it an accident? Was it terrorism? And if so, who was responsible? The Lockerbie bombing remains one of the most mysterious and devastating tragedies in aviation history. In this video, we'll take you through the events leading up to the crash, the investigation that followed, and the shocking revelations that would change everything. Stay with us until the end, because the truth behind Pan Am Flight 103 is a story of international intrigue, a complex investigation, and a painful reminder of the dangers of terrorism. It was just another routine flight. Pan Am Flight 103, a Boeing 747, took off from London Heathrow bound for John F. Kennedy International Airport in New York City. On board were 259 passengers, including Americans, Europeans, and citizens from around the world. Among them were students returning home for Christmas break, families heading to holiday destinations, and travelers from all walks of life. But as the flight climbed to cruising altitude over the Scottish Highlands, it became clear that this was no ordinary flight. At 31,000 feet, the unthinkable happened. In an instant, the plane exploded in mid-air, sending wreckage raining down on the town of Lockerbie below. The lives of all 259 passengers and 11 people on the ground were lost. What caused this explosion? It would take months of investigation, countless clues, and a global effort to begin uncovering the answer. As soon as the explosion occurred, emergency responders and authorities scrambled to piece together what had happened. Wreckage from the plane scattered over a vast area, with debris landing in Lockerbie, a quiet village of only 8,000 residents. Eyewitnesses reported hearing a loud boom, followed by a fireball streaking across the sky. The sight was surreal and terrifying. Initial investigations pointed to the possibility of a bomb. Given the size of the explosion and the fact that Pan Am Flight 103 had suffered a catastrophic mid-air event, it quickly became apparent that the plane had been brought down deliberately. But who would do such a thing, and why? Authorities immediately considered several theories. Was this an act of terrorism? Could it be the result of a malfunction or mechanical failure? As investigators searched for answers, one crucial piece of evidence stood out: fragments of a bomb. After months of careful investigation, the breakthrough came. Investigators discovered that the bomb responsible for the explosion was hidden inside a luggage bag that had been checked in at the Malta International Airport. The bomb was planted inside a Sony cassette recorder in the bag, with the timer set to detonate over the Atlantic. The bag had been transferred onto the flight from Malta, where it had been loaded onto Pan Am Flight 103. The question then became, who planted the bomb? Investigators turned their focus to the contents of the bag and the timing of its placement. Their search would eventually lead them to Libya and a complex web of international politics. The investigation would uncover startling truths, but the journey wasn't easy. For years, the case seemed to be at a standstill. The US and British authorities worked relentlessly to find the perpetrators. Eventually, their suspicions focused on a Libyan connection. Muammar Gaddafi's regime was suspected of being involved in the bombing. In 1991, two Libyan men, Abdel Basset al-Migrahi and Layman Khalifa Fhimah, were charged with the bombing. Al-Migrahi was accused of planting the bomb, while Fhimah was alleged to have been part of the conspiracy. But the mystery was over. The case would become one of the most controversial in modern history. The allegations against the two men were based on evidence that linked them to the bombing. However, questions were raised about whether the evidence was enough to convict them beyond reasonable doubt. Still, In 2001, Abdel Basset al-Megrahi was found guilty and sentenced to life in prison, while Hima was acquitted. The Lockerbie bombing and its aftermath had lasting consequences for the world. The tragedy led to major changes in aviation security, with new protocols put in place to prevent similar attacks from happening again. Baggage screening and other safety measures were ramped up, leading to increased scrutiny of luggage and greater emphasis on identifying dangerous items before they could be loaded onto planes. However, the case was far from over. Many people still question whether Libya was truly responsible. Some argue that al-Megrahi was a scapegoat, and that others were involved in a larger plot that has yet to be fully uncovered. Conspiracy theories persist, claiming that the bombing may have been part of a broader political agenda. In 2009, after serving 8 years in a Scottish prison, Abdel Basset al-Megrahi was released on compassionate grounds due to his terminal cancer. He returned to Libya, where he continued to maintain his innocence. His release sparked international debate, and his death in 2012 did little to close the chapter on the Lockerbie bombing. Was justice truly served for the families of the victims? The pain of loss is still fresh, even decades later. Every year, a memorial service is held to honor those who lost their lives in the tragedy. Survivors and families of the victims continue to seek justice and closure. The bombing of Pan Am Flight 103 remains one of the darkest chapters in aviation history. 270 lives were lost, and the echoes of that tragedy still reverberate through the years. The Lockerbie tragedy is a story of terror, loss, and a long pursuit of justice. While much has been uncovered, many still believe that the full truth has not been told. What really happened that day over the skies of Scotland? Who was truly responsible for the bombing of Pan Am Flight 103? Only time will tell. What we do know is that the lives lost that day are forever remembered, and the lessons learned from the Lockerbie disaster have made the world of aviation safer. The tragedy serves as a stark reminder that terrorism, no matter where it originates, has a far-reaching impact on the lives of innocent people around the globe. Thank you for watching and staying with us to the end. If you found this story intriguing, make sure to like, share, and subscribe for more aviation mysteries and true stories that shape the world of flight.